the show, podcast, crypto show thing, where we talk about all sorts of things, not just crypto. It's a crypto podcast, but we talk about everything. It's pretty much insert buzzword here when it comes to finances around crypto. I don't know. The story always revolves back to kind of have that angle. We kind of have that angle. We're biased slightly, but yeah, we created this show after wanting a place where we could talk with the homies about things that our lady folks just don't want to hear, and maybe some of your other friends just don't want to hear. So it's that show, it's that hour, and oops, where'd you go? Yeah. Join with my resident host here, the infinite resident normie.
Yeah, the one and only, the one and only. Welcome. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. But we're ready.
We are ready. Yeah, so it's been an interesting week in crypto this week. Actually, let me pop up the bubbles to get us started, just to give you guys a little peek into how the market's been going. All right, we got the crypto bubbles up. Bow. Yeah, and we're gonna have to take this out. Right now, we're looking at the daily, and I swear the daily has been back and forth between majority green bubbles and majority red bubbles. When we look at the weekly, starts to get a little bit more green. And I think if we go to the monthly, it's gonna look even more green. There it is, boom, green. I was just talking to Satoshi in chat, who's he's not here with us today, unfortunately. Maybe he'll come in later. But talking to him in chat, and I was like, "Yeah, Go is launching soon. It's bullish for Aave." And he's like, "Oh, why is that bullish for Aave?" And this and that. I mean, he's just asking questions, but like, yeah, 41% this month is bullish for Aave. Boom. Compound also benefiting some big numbers here from some old school DeFi and some layer one blockchain projects. Solana also up at 42. Why, Solana? Why? Just talking to people earlier, I was like, dude, Solana just won't die. What is up with these people? Like, really, guys? I don't know.
They're entrenched, brother.
I'm like, Matic is there. It's already why? But whatever. We gotta ask this question, because we always ask this question when we start this show. Infinite, how are you feeling about the market lately?
Man, the last time we talked, I was like, I'm kind of neutral. I'm starting to get a little bit more bearish.
More bearish. Going back into bearish territory.
Going back down, son.
And this is for the markets.
Yeah, this is for the markets. Long term. Because I know a lot of the times, when we're talking, like, I'm starting to parallel to see why we always think so differently. Is like there's obviously like a short term kind of like this is where we are now, but like realistically, when I'm looking at the charts of the future, I think we have a little bit more pain. I mentioned that the last time we talked, but recently today, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. U.S. Bank is in the news for kind of defrauding people, creating accounts for people, and they got some pretty big fines. I think they're still going to be raising rates, so I think a few more things might break. And until that evens out, there's like the conditions in France and the UK to where people are like, we're running out of money. They're doing a bunch of different things, and I think we got a little bit more pain, son. A little bit more pain. But yeah.
Interesting. You said what's the just to pick at your statement really quickly. You said it's U.S. Bank.
Yes.
There's some stuff from like last year, but like, is it just U.S. Bank? I'm like, is this? Yeah.
It should be U.S. Bank. I can give you some of the channels that I listen to about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I'm not at all doubting it. I'm just like, if that's the case, I'm like, it seems to be like a yearly thing for them. Like, what the, like, this is 2022. And again, we were speaking before stream. Where I was like, I'm not even like, these banks make like budgets and stuff to like pay for their fines. That they're like, oh, we're gonna get some fine for doing something, and they make these budgets. So it's like crazy. But yeah, Bank of America fine 150 over junk fees and fake accounts. So that's Bank of America, right? CFTC Bank of America. Maybe it was Bank of America, not just U.S. Bank. No, this one's U.S. Bank fine 15 million for deceptive practices. Everybody's getting fined.
Everybody's getting fined. Right? You get a fine.
Right.
You get a fine. It is not unreasonable. Oh, here's the other one. So I put the two videos that I watched in the private chat.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll try to get that by the end of the show here because I gotta make sure that I can upload it for the audience to view. But we will definitely get to those ones. Try to get them on stream for you. How long are they?
They're decently long. One's
Decently long.
one's
Oof.
about they're about 8
Oof.
minutes a piece. So 8 minutes, 8 minutes.
Ah.
We're not gonna watch it. I just want you to see like
Yeah.
where some of the things I was pulling information. I have
Gotcha.
like a pool of like pundits that I'll like listen to about the markets and all the different types
Gotcha.
of
I
things.
say source, you say
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and basically, yeah, I feel you. Thank you for that. Yeah, I had to ask somebody that earlier today when I was asking a question about like just poking the bear a little bit about this DeFi protocol, and I was like, "Well, what's it forked from?" And blah blah blah. And somebody like nobody answered for hours, and then somebody's like this, and I'm like, "Source, or is that just like your gut feeling?" And I'm like, "They're gonna hate me. They're gonna hate me.
They're not gonna like this.
They're not gonna like me." Fud, this guy's fudding. Like, he's asking questions. Don't kick me out.
Don't hate
Come
me, man. Come
on.
on.
Oh my goodness. All right, but in general, the Infinite's feelings in the market, you said they're bearish. You're
Yeah.
feeling like they're bearish. Things are piling up in a direction that you feel like they're bearish. Partly, could multiplied by this whole banking system that you're talking about, these bank fines and stuff like that, not making you feel good.
No.
All right. I'm gonna give my opinion. My opinion is, of course, it's bullish. Bullish.
I was expecting the video. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was like,
I thought about it. Could have got hit with it. Could have got hit with it. But yeah. I'm the guy that's always feeling bullish about the. No, not always. There's times where I actually do go bearish, but there's certain things that got me feeling more bullish about the market more recently. I was definitely in the camp. And especially when we started like this show, like some of our earlier episodes, I said that what was my target price for Bitcoin to go down to? $14,000. Bitcoin went down to $15,000. Like when you're down in those numbers, it doesn't seem like oh man, I missed it by like $1,000 or so. But Bitcoin's at $30,000 today, folks. So like hindsight, it's a pretty good call. It's a pretty good call, and I feel like we're making those same type of calls. Currently, we've been making those same type of calls throughout the show. All this to build up to the DXY. Man, we're constantly calling out what's happening with the DXY in terms of its trend, and whenever we lay the DXY or the Dixie over the top of the cryptocurrency chart, it seems to be in like crypto market cap and stocks for the most part. It seems to be like when the DXY is heading downward, cryptos and stocks are heading up. And stocks have been having a wonderful year. Crypto it's been having a good year too. I know a lot of stock people are like, "Oh, crypto hasn't been having." It has. It's been having a great year. Some assets, as somebody said, like, "Oh, the Bitcoin's the top crypto asset, up 80%." I'm like, actually, there's other assets, and maybe they're not counting penny stocks and stuff like that or whatever. But other assets that still have like multi-million-dollar market caps are up 16,000 or 1,600%. Is it 1,600 or 16,000? 1,600% per Pendle. And just other there's assets that are doing really well in this market. They just don't get that credit. While the majority of people that are active in DeFi, decentralized finance, and other sectors of crypto take notice to these platforms and are using them. And that's like what they're actually focused on. So it's just a matter of time. But looking back at this chart again, this is kind of inverse to what the markets are typically doing. And I mean, this is in the year to date range. And I mean, recently it looks like it like fell off of like a steep cliff, right? And recently we had cryptocurrency go from around $24,000. I pay attention to crypto the most instead of stocks, so that's what we're talking about. From $24,000 or so to around, because I was like around the bottom or so, right around the beginning of July, to poof, 30,000 or so. So like boom, kind of like works out there, right? And if we look at it in the 1 day, specifically today, let's go a little bit bigger, 5 day. I want to see this little downtrend here. Boom. Today, the DXY, when we were during the market hours today, looked crazy. It was just down. It looked like this specifically, but on the daily. And typically it has a little bit more fight than that, but it looked ugly today. And all that on top of positive CPI data. So like inflation being reduced we get, and that's the thing with inflation too. I don't want to go too much on it, but like we anticipate some amount of inflation. That's the one thing that you have to get about, like, when we're talking about crypto and stocks and stuff. And that was I feel like that's not really taught in school. They don't really mention that like that. It's a simple thing that you could at least let people know, right? That like we're like, yeah, there is inflation, Not like, oh, like, because some people really think like some years there's just like, it's like it's just like, yeah, some years there's literally no inflation, or it's like, but like the vast majority of the time we're planning for actual inflation. Like historically speaking, it just gets worse. So all of that like just leads up to a situation where you just feel more and more bullish about the market.
We need to
Back to back to back. Back to back to back. Man, CPI. I just wanted to pull up some stuff on CPI. Inflation rose just 0.2% in June, less than expected as consumers get a break. So why people are getting excited about this in stock and crypto world is because they're like, yo, if the Fed stops tightening, then maybe they start printing, or maybe they just stop tightening and it just relaxes for markets a bit more. And so it's seen as like a positive thing for markets. So that's what people are kind of thinking. But then there's also a camp of folks that I'm listening to that are like, yeah,
it's a false flag. Is kind of what I've been hearing.
Yeah,
this ain't real.
False. Well, that's not even what I'm like. Not just that it's not real, but it's just that the Federal Reserve, they're like the Fed really feels like they have a job to do, and like don't know if they feel like they're done doing that job. They might want to crank it up a little bit tighter. Like they're like, oh, you know what? Nothing's broke yet though. Nothing broke. So then let's make this a little bit better. Let's just keep going. So that's like the other camp, which is very similar. But I just wanted to break in that wording that I've heard for that specifically.
Well, let me chime in a little bit right there.
Go ahead.
Specifically towards that, to where like what I've been hearing is more so that like the data is kind of lying, and you really have to look into some of the different things that they're like talking about. So like energy prices, I guess, are a little bit down, but they're like food prices are still kind of high. And there's like weird shifts happening. So people are talking about like the used car market and stuff, and there's still a bit of a credit crunch. And like also that although a lot of people can't afford a house, that houses are still being bought like extensively in a situation. So it doesn't feel like things have cooled in a way that like makes them feel like we're actually going to have a soft landing. That inflation is just hitting behind this, and that like if those things continue to happen, that they'll start rising again. Which is why they think like in both camps, I feel like everybody kind of knows the Fed's still going to raise rates. So we end up in a situation where it's like, well,
everybody.
No, I shouldn't use those words.
No. I know what you mean though. Because you're like that's like the general consensus of people that are paying attention to the market, and like that's what I should mean by everybody. But instead, I'm like everybody. And when I say everybody, I meant like this cohort of people that just are like unaware of it at the time. Because like you got to think back to a time when like I was like totally unaware about like the market or about the Federal Reserve existing. They exist. Inflation exists like that. Student loans exist like that. But a point that I had brought up to me, or I forget what I was looking at. There's two things I want to mention. One was that somebody brought up that there's a whole generation of like high school graduates and college graduates that have a whole different perspective of like the financial world for a few different reasons. Like they graduated high school, and it's like I'm like, this is actually kind of fascinating. But they're like, they graduated high school or college at a time when the market was going up from 2020. Yes, they had the whatever the situation of 2020, but if they had any money that they were putting in the market, they were trying out markets. This for people that are trying out markets and stuff. They're like, then it went bananas. They were like, whoa, it's going crazy. On top of that, people just got money, and it's like yes, a lot of people they needed the money, but some people just didn't. And so, like again, we're talking about the class of people that maybe do like investing and stuff, because like that class of people that maybe do investing are also the people that are more likely to be buying these houses when we're talking about that and stuff, right? People that are more likely to be making investments. So the people that are more likely to be making investments got more money than they maybe needed, aka they got like a false education on how to be like even properly spending from high school forward through college or whatever for a large portion of people for about multiple years at this point. It's like you could have been out of college since you graduated college, could be like three years, almost 4 years, and you have no idea about student, and they're about to be like, yo, guess what? You got a pretty big bill coming. You got a big bill coming. You got a big bill coming.
We've been talking about
it. You didn't know.
We've been talking about it for a while now. You know.
Oh, you thought you were excluded. Oh, you thought. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, because you bought a car that you can't afford and a house that you can't. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know how that's going to play out for you because
we gonna need it.
But that's about to happen to like a lot of people. And the other thing that it reminded me of was like this TikTok clip where this girl was like dancing. She's like about to go to like my third job or whatever the heck to pay off this car, like to pay, to pay. And I'm like, she's like 22, 23. I'm like, what do you need this nice car for? And there was like a bunch of people in the comments that were just agreeing, like, man, I'm in the same boat. Yo, my car got me behind too. This and that. But I'm like, bro, y'all like, there was like one other person in the comments that was like, you don't really need the big, the big car or whatever the heck. That's gonna cost you all these payments and stuff like that. Just like get like a little like used car. Don't get the new because she had the new model. It's like the 2023. It's like, dude, like why?
That stuff right there is so hard to talk people out of. Like, people buying houses that are too big, people buying cars that are too big or too expensive or too nice. It's so hard to talk people out of that. I remember I had a friend who was like about to rent a house. I was like, oh, well, how much do you want to spend? And he was like, 3,000. And this was like his entry level job. And he's like, I'll make over 3,000. I was like, bro, please don't do it, bro. Like, oh, that's so bad. I was like, and like, luckily he came down, and now that he's in something, he's kind of like, well, he's kind of complaining about the price already. And I was like, imagine if he would have went more towards like the top of his, fictitious budget, to where it's like, and like he denies it. He was like, no, I didn't say that. And I'm like, nah, you don't forget anything that extravagant. Because like when people talk about a $2,500/$3,000 kind of like house payment, like in Ohio, hey, that is steep. It is.
Yeah, I'm like, that's
steep.
Like that's a big house, right? In Ohio, right?
Yeah, it's steep.
I was like, I've looked across I'm like, yo, babe, buy up all East Side Toledo. Come on,
let's do it.
Come on, shake with me. I don't go to the Midwest. Like, okay. All right. If you try to be slumlords, we can do it.
We can do this, man. Get a couple houses, son.
Oh my god. But yeah, I don't want to ignore the bull in the room. Welcome to the party, Rex Satoshi. Satoshi Sensei. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. It changes with the avatar, I believe.
It does. How y'all doing today?
Yeah,
pretty good.
Doing good, my friend. I have to ask you the question then, since you were not here at the start. How are you feeling about the market?
I'm pretty bullish. Like I can't lie. Like it's everything just looks unbelievable. It's like, dang, like all these people are like basically saying we've been right this whole time, but it's all good.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about that yet, so that's like something special. But just because you get joined back in here, so I just want. Because you can't have a bull join a party without an introduction. Like what will we be without that?
The Bulls, man. The Bulls are back.
Yeah. We need your boy Alexander, whatever the heck, on the show, man. Just like, yeah, all those things that you were talking about. I'm like, even the China situation. I'm like, it's just looking like it's like some of us are visionaries. I don't know. Some of us are visionaries.
Some of us
know how to throw a frisbee.
Some of us can see.
Some of us,
Some of us can see what's gonna happen before it happens.
Yeah. And when we're on the ultimate frisbee golf course, and we're throwing. We know it's going to curve around the tree. We know it. We know it. Chains.
Ching.
Oh. Did he hit that? Yes. Oh my goodness. But yeah, as you were saying, Satoshi, it's been kind of crazy in that level of like more macro news with places like we had the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, saying he felt like crypto had staying power. We had the IMF coming out and saying, we probably won't be banning any cryptocurrencies in the future, actually.
We probably won't
We
be
don't
able to
know
stop
that we'd
that.
suggest anybody else be doing that. Yeah, like, I'm like, really? Y'all just repealed that after, like, because like the last year, I don't know, for people that aren't in crypto, maybe you don't know, they have gone out and said things like, yo, you got, like, you need to drop anything related to crypto, otherwise we're not helping you. And like companies like or not companies, countries are like, yo, we need that. Like, if you need the IMF, it's like your country is in dire straits. Like, they need to help you on some humanitarian aid type stuff. And they had the policy before that if you were dabbling in crypto, nah,
They ain't about to help you.
nah, you need to drop that. And people are like, but we think it's our salvation. Like, our currency is going to crap, and we're coming to you. We need some type of nah. And now they repealed that. It's like, yo, like the level of stuff that's happening. BlackRock jumping in, the biggest investment fund in the world, just jumping in. This is ours. And Larry Fink sound bullish.
Bruh,
That's the new Michael Saylor.
Larry Fink sounds like he did not get trained on what to say correctly when he went and started talking about crypto on MSNBC. I was like, yo, wait, Larry. I wasn't ready for what he said, honestly.
He started listening to the young staff. They were like,
Yo,
it's crypto. It's crypto.
You can tell that he's been hanging out around Michael Saylor, I feel like. Like, he kind of sounded like an even more bullish version of Michael Saylor. He said that crypto is hope. He said that crypto is digitalized gold. I'm like, Larry, bruh, don't tell him yet, because wait, don't tell him.
Really
don't tell him.
Hitting it all. Man, Larry Fink is really treating it like the Ten Commandments.
It's also weird. It's a weird feeling though. Like, it's like, do we want these people to agree with us? Because it's just like, we're so used to like going against the grain or swimming against the stream, that now that some more of the bigger fish are swimming with us, it's like, you start looking around to see who's still here, and like,
feel you.
It's weird.
Like, it reminds me of back in the day, when The Weeknd first came out and nobody knew what his face looked like. There was the real ones that stuck with them throughout the party scene. We know about the House of Balloons. And then everybody else, once he started making pop music for the sex music games or whatever the heck that movie is. 50 Shades. Yeah. Then all you wanted to jump on and be Weeknd fans. But the real ones know we were here. We were here for the party times.
Yeah. And it's like, so do we still want to be here with these new people coming in? And I'm just like, I guess we should try to be accepting.
In the case of crypto,
I don't think we have a choice.
In the case of crypto. Yep. Yeah, you got to support Abel regardless. You want to be called Abel now? Sure. All right. I missed the old weekend. No. Little Kanye reference. Let me pull up a little something for you guys.
Did you see what I shared in the chat last night?
Oh yes. I'm gonna get to that.
Wild.
Yeah, that was last. Hold on, we'll go to it in just a second.
All right.
Let me pull this up. This is great. This ended up being like a interesting article read. The Arthur Hayes, so co-founder of BitMEX and CIO.
I fucks with Arthur Hayes.
Arthur Hayes is just known as a prolific investor. Yeah.
Like, really, the reason I like Isaac Hayes, or sorry, not Isaac Hayes, but Arthur Hayes, like, black man with his own centralized exchange in America, leverage trading tokens on his own exchange. I'm just like, how do you not love that story? I don't know. It's like, it could happen to me maybe one day.
It could be me. I could be there.
That could be me. That could be me. That's Miles Morales.
I used to hate Arthur Hayes though, because the last bull run, or maybe at the end of the last bear market, every time Bitcoin would start going up, BitMEX would start fucking up, or Coinbase would start fucking up. And I'm like, God damn it, Arthur Hayes is over there shorting us, man.
Damn you, big pockets.
Damn it, man.
Damn you. But yeah, Arthur Hayes, just so you guys got a little intro into how we feel about Arthur Hayes, feel free to look him up. I would suggest doing so. Follow him on crypto or on Twitter, Crypto Hayes. This tweet specifically and the Substack that comes with it, it's a little bit of a long read. This man is just like going. I'm like, you enjoy writing. But read on to hear why AI will use BTC as their currency and my BTC price predictions if this comes to be an acceptable narrative. So why artificial intelligence would use Bitcoin as its currency. And I feel like, I was like, all right, I'll bite, I'll nibble, let me read. Because you scroll down to the comments here, and we got comments like where is it? There's some Ethereum hungry people in here that are like, nah, it's gonna be Ethereum because here we go. And he chose the ETH. AI prefers programmable money, and I'm like, it could be a mix of bags, right? It could be a mix of bags. But the argument that Arthur Hayes makes here for Bitcoin is a good one, I think. He uses this example of what do you call it? Poet AI and Poet AI needing data to make poems. And so it's an AI that exists and is like operating on its own. And so it needs data. And the energy that it in this case, the energy that it consumes is, poetry. So people need to write the data for it, poetry, or other AI needs to write the poetry for it. And then he brings this up to an example of like basically for one of these AIs to exist, again, like that AI needs data. And so it's poetry AI is consistently going out and buying, space, so they can source all this data and stuff. It needs more poems. So you need more, you need to pay for more data. You have to pay for your data, same way that you pay for your network providers, whatever you're using. So AI is going to have to deal with the same things that we have to deal with, like the same way that like an internet provider would have to deal with something or whatever search engine. Google has to pay somebody, right? So you have to pay somebody. Just like, and so what would AI use? It would use digital currency. And he's like, okay. And so like, it's going to use this digital currency that makes sense to just can build off energy. And it starts to like make a case for, how AI would actually, what currencies it would use. And I'm like, okay, definitely crypto, it's not going to use physical cash. That's for damn sure. No, you actually, like it starts to make a compelling case. I'm like, no. So I want to raise that question to you guys. Like, just in the case of, do you think an AI would use cryptocurrency or some other currency? It could just be like digital dollars or something like that, but then you have to operate within like traditional banking to some degree and like have, KYC, you need to be faking somebody's personality or whatever the heck. Do you think, do you agree with Arthur Hayes to some degree without reading the whole thing that like, AI would use a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin potentially to fund? Because it needs something to like, in this case, it's not even like funding it. It just needs something to pay for the data if it's going to operate. And like, how do you self-operate? Very similar to like what I think about with Money Match Gaming. I'm like, we need prizes. And so we need something regardless that makes sure that everything is funded. Like, and they could just like sit there and earn something. You need some way to like, to get that, like that data source. For us, the data source would be like, we need players and like events to actually happen. And so you do that with prizes, incentivized prizes, but you need something to kick that up. And so I'm like, cryptocurrencies, I think they can kick that up. If we were, if AI was human, it could just have a storefront with people working all the time and selling, like, making, clothing and buying whatever. But I don't know. Again, question to you guys. What do you think? Would AI do this or you see other means possible?
I mean, if it's possible, I think it would happen. I don't see why it wouldn't. It seems like it would be, to me, like there's nothing stopping someone from making an AI platform that uses some type of crypto. I think that, I don't think the first one will be Bitcoin. I think that to build something like that seems like it would take some time for Bitcoin, but for other layer ones or layer twos, I think it'd be pretty simple to implement that for AI.
I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I think personally that it would use anything at its disposal. So if it had Bitcoin, it'd use Bitcoin. If it had ETH, it'd use ETH. If it had both, it would do both. And if it had cash in some capacity, it would use that. I think they would be way more utility oriented. And so whatever gets the job done is what I think it would use. And I don't think it'd have any bias towards one way or another. It just, how can I get the job done? I can do it this way, the easiest, I'm gonna choose that. So if it turns out to be that a lot of the transactions or things that it uses, it can do that easily with crypto, I think it'd use crypto. I think there wouldn't be any bias.
See, I agree to there wouldn't be any bias thing, because I think there would be like a portfolio that it would use, to speak. But I do think there would be like some type of reserve asset, the same way that humans figure there needs to be some type of reserve asset. There's something that you sit in primarily, or something that you think is like maybe backing you in the case of whatever the heck goes wrong with the rest of your portfolio. There's some type of, and so I'm like, I feel like maybe Bitcoin is the case for that. Or maybe it's like Ethereum or something, because I do think, as Satoshi's kind of saying, it's probably easier for it to go with like more programmable like money, like just go ahead and stake a bunch of Ethereum. It feels like it's an easier situation to just get it set up on like a program can literally just be launched in like, as long as that chain is up and running, this AI is like literally just running because that chain is up. But yeah, I think I was watching a video. Was it a video or was I reading something? No, it was a video the other day where this guy was talking about, he's a fighter pilot, and he's talking about going against an AI. And he's like, yeah, it was crazy going against the AI because the AI is doing all sorts of stuff that like we don't typically do as fighter pilots. Like, we're like trying to get behind the other jet to take it down. We're not like gonna like just like go like head to head playing chicken with this other jet. Like, I'm gonna shoot you in the cockpit. He's like, that's like chances of you just running into the other jet, and you're not. Why would you take that chance versus getting behind him? And he's like, but the AI doesn't care. The AI is like, I'm gonna make this calculation, I'm gonna turn it, and so you got like all these possibilities that you as a human are like, nah, that's not possible because that's too close to the ground. I'd have to pull up and do this, and the AI is like, we're doing it.
I did the math.
We can run that.
Yeah, like exactly. I did the math. And so it's like, it brings up kind of like to you, and I'm trying to include this into your point, Infinite, about like, it wouldn't really care. It'd be doing like whatever. And I think that's like maybe the thing. I have to read through this whole thing from Arthur, but I think maybe that's what this is excluding from the part that I did read, which is up about right here. So, because like I was reading it beforehand and there's all this stuff up here, and I was like, dang, I thought this was going to be like, like here or something. Like, no, okay. I got more to read. But yeah, I do think the AI would be like, yeah, no, we're using this and that. Similar to like, you wouldn't think BlackRock had a position in Pepe, but lo and behold,
no way.
Position in Pepe, one of the major bags in Pepe, and sold in profit. Like, so you never know. That's crazy, right? But look it up. Don't listen to me. Look it up.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Moving positions or topics, changing topic. I want to go to, you said you left something last night. This Vanguard news. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, you pull this up. Vanguardia Leviosa.
All that ESG talk,
Yeah, put this up on screen.
I'm a minor hate.
Would you like to lead us through this? Would you like to lead us through this one? When?
Sure. I mean, so basically, Vanguard, which is one of the biggest asset managers, that's think BlackRock, but also Vanguard owns probably not as much, but almost as much real estate and other assets under management as far as trillions of dollars. So they invested, I want to say it was around 10%. Like I think they own 10% of like there's 10% of Marathon and 10% of Riot, which those are Bitcoin miners. Ooh. And so now we have basically people who are investing their money in these huge companies who are investing their money for them. They're now going to be owning Bitcoin on the stock market. They're buying Bitcoin, like Bitcoin adjacent stock. So miners, and there are other miners. Those aren't the other ones that are there. Like, there are other miners out there. There was a crazy stat. Like, dude, the miners have been selling like a lot of their miners have been sending a lot of their Bitcoin to exchanges, I think. Gotcha. Which is one of the signs of a blow off top coming. When the miners are making money and stuff, like that's when Bitcoin's usually going up. But now it's so high where it's like, damn, like, you know, why are these miners selling so much Bitcoin? Well, it's because these people are coming for the Bitcoin, and there's not enough Bitcoin on those exchanges. So they have to send their Bitcoin there so that BlackRock can buy it. Wild. It's so wild to me that, you know, just probably 6 months ago, like they were getting ready to ban mining in America, weren't they? They were talking about how how Ethereum and Bitcoin use so much energy and all this other stuff, and
man, we had Texas going for us.
Now
everybody was like, what's that senator's name?
Ted Cruz.
Oh my goodness,
that's
everybody's like, dang, what? Did I just agree with Ted Cruz? It was like that we were all having that moment, like, oh my goodness, he said something right about crypto. Like, dang it. But yeah, you saying that this whole Vanguard thing and them buying 10% of it reminds me of I listen to Robert Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki knows what's up, bro. He ain't fucking around.
Yeah. And so Kiyosaki talks about, you know, he hasn't mentioned Bitcoin mining as an option, but he'll talk about gold. And if we're going to say Larry Fink has given Bitcoin the AOK as digital gold, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how many people need to say it? Let's just say the biggest asset manager in the world saying it's okay. It's like it finally maybe has a label that people say it has. So Robert Kiyosaki's talking about, like, in his most recent podcast, how people are going out, you know, him and Kim. It's like, we don't just buy the gold, you know, we buy gold mines. He's like, so I own the gold coming out of the like, there will be blood like level of stuff. But he's like, yeah, that's how you get profitable. Like, you don't have to buy the gold itself. You buy the people that are making the money from, like, so, you know, the market's coming, and you like, you know, who make the most money in like the gold rush is the people selling the pitches, and you know, so it's like, all right, there are other ways to skin this cat. We can just own it all. Same way it's like better to own the land that the real estate is on top of. So you want to own it all. And this is very similar tactic. It's like, all right, you don't have all the miners or whatever the heck, you don't want to set up shop. We're going to buy into that, and we're going to own it this way. And like, this is their first buy-in. Like, this, who's to say that's going to be their last buy-in? After, you know, like, Warren Buffett make one buy-in on Coca-Cola. I think it's like, you know, you slowly buy these things up. But yeah, that is really interesting news in my opinion. Kind of like, that's what the angle my brain takes it from. It's like, oh man, this is definitely them coming in here, you know, being like, yeah, this is digital gold. We see it as an asset where we can make that money, you know, regardless to some degree. And that's what I've been saying about DeFi when people are like, oh, you know, how's crypto? Or maybe they won't even say, well, like, but you know, like people like, you know, how's crypto been going for you? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm working in it full time. From the knowledge that I earned from cryptocurrency, I still make it passively. I'm earning crypto right now while we're speaking. I probably earned a few dollars. You know, by the time we leave, I'm going to have earned a few bucks. Like, it's like I'm being paid every hour of the day regardless. So, yeah, I think it's been going okay for me, regardless of what the market is like right now. There's nothing else that I've ever been in where I'm going to earn that much money, you know, and it didn't all go to zero. So it's just, you know, we're in wild times. We're in wild times. I don't want to ramble too much. Like, I'm getting rambly. You get rambly on these type of topics. People just, you know. So again, some of us are visionaries. Some of us are just visionaries. We like technology. We like to believe where things might go. The internet didn't scare us. We didn't think that was crushing the radio. So listening to my
kind of crush the
partners, it did. But like so, but radio still still exists, and like that art
radio
form still exists.
Had to
evolve. You gotta adapt.
Like, because now we have podcasting now and streaming. Like, that's the new radio. We have
it's better.
Yes, it's better. We
more
have to
more
move
radio.
We have to leave.
People couldn't have radio in the same capacity.
The newspapers are for the old people.
100%. Like, yeah, I'm sitting with my partner's like father. He's like 80 something or 80 so, you know, and he's like, yeah, down in Mexico back in the day, you know how they make their own radio stations, and he's talking to me about like how he doesn't like the radio anymore because he can't find the music that he likes, and he's like, I hate the Beatles. The Beatles ruined music. You know, like they came and they knocked the blues off the radio, and now it's all this other crazy stuff. You can't find any good music anymore. There's no good music. You have to own these CDs. Where do I get the CDs and stuff? Like, I'm like, you talking about CDs, bro? So we like, you know, like didn't you get an iPhone recently? Yeah, but you know, I got this. I'm like, look, you got every song that you ever wanted to have to own. Little did you know,
right there.
living this far into the future, you got so we hooked him up with Spotify, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, well, but down in Mexico, everybody had their own little radio station. You want to start a radio station? You know how you do it? You take a speaker up to a phone pole, you play the music from your house. You got a local neighborhood radio. I'm like, now that's YouTube. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, that's YouTube now. That's like, we got platforms to do that, and like, you don't have to bother everybody else either. And like, you can find artists and people that you actually just like.
I think that
was like an interesting.
I think that some people enjoy the process of radio. They enjoy like the probably the process of making a radio station or broadcasting their voice to a specific station or something. Because that's probably what they're used to. Which is fine, but it's like if you wanna optimize your voice and really like push it out, or really hear something that is more new age,
Then more people can hear.
Yeah.
Because like less people are going to be tuning into a radio station. Like, you can do that. The fact that more people can even do that right now in this day and era is one thing, but like, even if you get on the radio waves, like, you need, hopefully you're like recording that for YouTube or Spotify. And like, the whole point, not for us to go too far down that rabbit hole, is just that like, there's like this evolution of technology, right? And it's like, oftentimes people get too far up and like wanting to fight the thing. I hate the Beatles. Like, the Beatles ruined the blues. Versus just being like, all right, but like, what else can you get from that right now? Because like, I mean, this man's like, wanting to hear these records he hasn't heard in like 40 years. And I'm like, bro, they all exist on Spotify. You could have listened to the last 20 years, bro. They've all been here. We've all just been listening to them. There's a new blues artist that like probably got like no viewers on YouTube, and you might really like their music, quite honestly. There's a few people like, it starts small like that. I mentioned The Weeknd earlier. Wasn't nobody listening to The Weeknd like that. There was like a contingent of people that were like, yo, we heard Drake might have a protege. You got to go to this website to get the music. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. And a lot of the times I feel like, just to finish it and give my little 2 cents, is like these mediums change the way things are consumed. So like a radio station's like a curated, hey, this is what I think is good, and now we've moved to a state where it's like, no, you just listen to exactly what you want to, when you want to, how you want to. And so like a lot of these times, like, he's basically saying, hey, there was a time where I learned new things because, this curated person curated this content for me. And then, I found something that I liked out of it. And it's like, well, now you drink straight from the well, brother. Like, that's just the way it is, man. And it's like, you can go find the blues well, and you can just suck it straight up, straight raw. It's not cut. You can just get it raw. And even if you do want curated content, you could still find that in your medium, because there is a well for that too. So it's like, that's like, I think people struggle with that more. That the way we consume these things change.
Yeah, and I want to tie that into what we're talking about too, because like this is like my initial point with that. Like the concept itself, it's fun to talk about like with technology and evolutions, because that's pretty much what we're doing. But like with finance, when we're talking about crypto, and we're talking about people buying these crypto companies, like that, there's a generation of people that are like, I want the gold companies or whatever, and like, oh man, I wish it was as good. Like there's somebody out there being like, I wish it was as good with a product like gold, where you could just buy the gold companies like you could back in the 1960s. And like get a nice, and it's like it's evolved. Like you can, like, I'm sure it's easier for you to get those gold contracts the exact same way that you want, like that they're thinking of now, if they like know the right products digitally for that. And now there's this whole new digital format of it as well, like evolving, and like you can literally get that ground floor like entry that you're talking about, because like there's not, the biggest players are just now doing it. The people that are like, I'm going to set up shop and sell you the picks are just now setting up shop. So like there's opportunity there. But yeah, people have to be like, and looking at this whole digital space, whether it's crypto or stocks or whatever, there's like opportunity, and there's more than like ever in different ways and stuff to do it. So like, going back to that conversation we had with your friend in the Discord, it's like, like my main point, like he kept sounding like he was like trying to like be like, what, this is maybe why crypto is bad, or like why I don't like it. I'm like, it depends on risk profile, bro. Like, again, I'm into technology. I'm looking forward. I'm like, this is where it has to go. And like, lo and behold, it took 1 month for like every capitulation of every major, whatever, the IBS, all these banking associations, everybody capitulated and said the exact same thing, where I was like, I'm looking forward. I think it's the future of that technology. I think the financial system, when you think about what makes sense, that's where it's going. Every country in the world is talking about adapting their own. Like it's like, dude, you either see it or you wait for them to like sell it to you with a wrapper on it. Like, okay, but you could have just pick those out of the backyard yourself. Pick them out of your backyard. You rather go to the supermarket and get them.
You either buy the Bitcoin or you buy the ETF. And if you buy the ETF, you're late to the party. But
yeah,
please, but go ahead and buy it.
Yeah, that's pump my bags. Pump my bags. Let me let's move on. But enjoyed that little portion there. To bring up, speaking of capitulation situations, this is an article shared to us by Mr. Satoshi Sensei. This is yours, Satoshi Sensei.
What do we got?
Like a jock, like a radio jock right now. I'm putting on the new track for you. This is going out to Satoshi Sensei.
What we got? Oh, yeah.
Google Play.
Ooh, this one
Google
right
Play
here,
changes policy on tokenized digital
right
assets, allowing NFTs and apps in games. So there was a period of time where during the last bull run, where everybody turned bullish on crypto, and they're like, crypto good, and then like crypto flourished, went up, and then there was a period of time where people were like, maybe it's the top, and then all these companies that were like, actually, we don't want anybody to like, they just like all like made bans and stuff like that, and it was like a waterfall. Like, no, actually, we're all gonna turn our back on this stuff. So it's just funny when things like this happen because, yeah, the title that we just read, Google Play changes policy on tokenized digital assets, allowing NFTs in games and apps. So they like ban these from their platforms. You have to go to the website to download these apps and stuff typically. So, yeah, if you didn't know, that's part of the reason why people are like, it's not growing. It's like they don't want you to see it. They haven't let you see it.
Now it's okay. Right. Now someone said, "Hey, it's okay for the big businesses to start making money off crypto," and so eventually they'll be like, "Okay, it's okay for you people to make money on crypto, even though we can make that choice ourselves." But this Google Play thing is going to be wild. There are a lot of like Web3 gaming and NFT projects that are probably going to start making partnerships with, certain games where their assets can get on these on the App Store somehow. And it's making me like, I don't know, it's making me bullish again on Web3 gaming because I kind of got out of like messing around with like games and play to earn and stuff like. Because it was looking pretty bad there for a while, but things are starting to change, man.
Yeah. I think it's starting to turn around in my opinion as well. I said it initially during like it was like 2020 or so when we started getting like these like because early to the party, but like we're starting to like play these like games and like look at things. And I remember somebody in the Money Match gaming community being like, some of these games aren't that fun, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, true. A lot of them are like auto roller type of stuff. I'm like, it's going to be about 3 years before we see like games that people like expect, like the quality. We think about how long it takes these gaming studios to actually make these games. It takes them about 3 years. And so like, you could add on some time to that because you have to find the team. But even if you have a team that's ready today and they're like doing this, so it's going to be some time, like at least a year. So like people that like thought that was going to happen before that, it's like, nah, bro, no game that you're talking about. Like in 2021, people really thought, yeah, I'm gonna invest in this game project. It's gonna be out in 3 months. Like, man, what? What video game developer does that? They do think that. It's crazy though, but like that's not how it exists in the real world. But like people like literally was like looking at blockchain games like yo, really? Like Mortal Kombat. Like I'm gonna say like a fighter game. Like they ain't releasing those, but like once every 2 years or so, like 3 years. It ain't changing that much. I tell you what, it ain't changing that much. But it takes time to make a good game. Like just regardless, like they're just gonna be like, we really don't want it to be buggy and crap. Like it needs to be smooth. Like right.
Have you been paying attention to what's going on with CS:GO?
I mean, I've seen Bryson chilling the hell out of CS:GO and being like, I want to make a CS:GO and blockchain comparison consistently, so I got to become a CS:GO influencer. But that's what I've seen about CS:GO.
Okay, so there's been a lot of illicit and illegal gambling with some of with CS:GO, and there's been these illicit marketplaces that Valve there's this account on Twitter who's been exposing them, and then Valve went on and they canceled those people's accounts. They made their account basically useless. They can't sell their assets anymore.
Oh yeah, I heard about some being frozen.
So I think that that's going to be interesting too. Someone's going to kind of capitalize on one of these games kind of erasing people's
the situation. The situation you're referring to, I believe, was similar to to try to put some light on it, or correct me where I'm wrong or whatever. But what I heard from that situation was there's people kind of you're saying not necessarily gambling, but doing trading of certain assets off of the actual platforms that are available from it. And if you didn't know, now you know. Games have been tried to eliminate this stuff for the longest. They just don't want you doing it. They don't want you trading that. They don't want you doing between each other and stuff like that. They barely allow GameStop to survive. Got their stranglehold on them until all the Pepe lovers sent the thing to sky high and blasted it in the last bull run. But they had GameStop in the chokehold. Quite honestly, people don't like that. They don't like the idea. They want to control it. And so for this to come about, the comparison with blockchain is here is people are okay, well, what's the improvement from that? The improvement from that is it being on chain and it being able to just totally copy or move, or you don't. They're not going to have that level of control, and that's true to an extent. Depends on how decentralized that game would be, right? Because there's that game could totally just be yeah, you did something, but in general, the sphere in crypto is not if your asset moves from a wallet to a wallet, that's not how it works. That would be setting a total new precedent that doesn't exist in this space, that is only in the Web2 space. Because this space was Web3 space was kind of meant to avoid that whole situation. And shame on Valve, because it's I'm pretty sure part of their history is coming from that small of a company that did that level of trades for gaming type items and stuff. So shame on them.
Yeah, I feel they were, now there was a lot of illicit stuff going on this website, but it's you're blanket banning everyone, and everyone who's interacted with those sites. So that just kind of sucks, for those people who were just trading skins and shit like that. So I think that
because it's somebody who had a really expensive skin, can't their skin just is disabled from the game, or they can't their account or whatever. It's you just lost all that money.
So hopefully eventually we'll get that game that everyone wants to play and their assets are on the blockchain, and we'll see what happens. But I agree. I think the teams want control of their assets, which I can understand. You don't want people doing stupid, crazy stuff with your assets. So there's gonna have to be some type of fine line.
Yeah,
I think companies overdo it though. I think they overdo it. In this situation, I'm not saying they did overdo it. I'm just saying in general, when we think about this premise of how they treat their IPs and so on and so on, the hand feels awful heavy.
They have the technology to pinpoint. I feel who's making those illicit transactions to an extent. So yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate, but people are gonna keep playing CS:GO for now, until they get something better, I guess.
CS:GO and Call of Duty,
which I don't yet. Yeah, did you seen the that Microsoft is going to get to buy Activision Blizzard? Sony over here. Sony breathing heavy, what we about to do? We might buy Bungie. No, that ain't gonna help.
Oh my goodness. Speaking since we're bringing up all these different game companies and stuff, did you guys see the Web3 information about Sega recently?
No.
We're Sega announces their first Web3 game. Well, I'm just gonna blow the cover on this one. It's a Web3 game. Yes, it's an old Sega game or an existing Sega game. I forget what counts or what that system is, but it's an existing game from the 2020, 2011. I don't know, something not too far ago. But they're oh yeah, it won an award for its visuals and blah 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 blah. But it's an auto battler game that the exists for consoles, I guess, and they're like, we're gonna enter Web3 with our first Web3 game being an auto battler game over here. It's like auto, like like I'm gonna pick these cards, set them down. You're gonna pick your cards and set them down ahead of time, and we'll see who wins.
A lot of
My
companies
opinion,
are doing stuff like
go
this
ahead.
because there was another company who's doing similar. I want to say it's like Ubisoft, and they're coming out with like an auto battler type thing. And really, I think it's good. When
Yeah.
I think about it, I think it's good. But I didn't want to cut you off. Like they're not the only.
No. Yeah, well, I'll let you. I'll let you go very, very, very promptly. Because like I'll be quick. I'll be brief on my opinion. My opinion is just that I can't believe these big time companies is coming in where the market was 3 years ago. Y'all really coming in 3 years ago. Y'all really Axie Infinity in 2020. Real talk. The crypto community, Web3 community is all excited about it. I'm like, that was Axie in 2020 we talking about. We don't even have the ability to choose moves in between. This is Splinterlands, but without the Warner Bros deal. Like, what is really?
They gotta dip
It's
their feet in.
without all the token economy and everything else. It's just like the auto roller game with Splinterlands with nothing else, no tournaments, and all this other crazy stuff connecting to multiple blockchains. That's part of the reason it's even cool. Nope. We back in 2020, 2019, like really 2019. I mean, it's 2019. It's 2019. That's where Sega is coming into the game. So, like, ultimately, yes, long run, it's good. They're getting their feet wet. Axie started somewhere. They started as an auto battler. Sega got to start there too. So,
I think that they have to test things in this way to kind of see how they can scale the game. I feel like these types of games are not like heavy on graphics. I feel like the type of games that we want to make money on are like going in swinging swords or like mining shit or like finding different sword items or something. But if you're someone who's like who's not a gamer, you might want to sit down for a couple seconds and play an Axis type game that's simple, that picks the cards for you, and you just throws up your cards. You don't have to build your deck for 20 hours or some shit. The other thing is, so you see it with what's the new exchange they want to make? I think it's called EDX, the one that Citadel and Charles Schwab and all those guys were invested in. There's 4 tokens on there. It's fucking Bitcoin Cash, which is a Dino token, Litecoin, and Ethereum. So it's like they're even going back to like the old stuff that they know is like that they know is kind of gonna last. So it's kind of like companies are afraid, and they're like trying stuff that has worked for them in the past, and or trying stuff that kind of has some staying power. Trying stuff that's gonna be able to reach the most people instead of just certain games that are. I feel like the games we want are the games that take years to make, like Big Time or.
I have a slightly different opinion though. When it comes to this different types of things, I think you start off simple, because if you're going to enter a space and it's new to you don't want to deploy the most complex strategy. You kind of want to go, okay, I kind of want to be able to go in there, mash some buttons and see some success. And at the very least, learn some of the mechanics of kind of how all these things fit together. And so, like, in my personal opinion, I think they probably just start off simple and old school in a sense. The proven land, there's the trail. Let's go on the trail first before we go off road, and blaze our own trail. And I think like, I understand the frustration of like, this innovation could happen faster, but at the end of the day, if you're entering the space and you're not acquiring somebody who has that knowledge, you kind of take the trail, and so them choosing to do something that they've already done before, which I'm sure is easier, just to get their feet wet. It's just them going, okay, we need to build the skills, and to do that, we need to start with something that our team can handle.
And let me be clear too, like, for my opinion, it's like, it's not that I'm like oh, they shouldn't start with this type of game or whatever. Quite on in that respect, like, I think that's kind of like what you're saying, Infinite. I think that's like more the natural order. And my perspective is more so people in general. Like when we talk about like people that have been playing blockchain games, or like a lot of these influencers, like similar to like my knack with like Halo influencers, is like you make like your whole time influencing by talking negative about the game. The thing, like it's like I get it, negative content like does well, but like Jesus, like more like actual feedback or something. And I feel like that we have like a similar situation happening.
Okay, so it's more about the sentiment to where it was too good for you then, and now it's hunky dory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like okay, but now that Sega's doing it, it's like, oh, of course, Sega would come in with something that's like, and that's really good for Web3. It's really good for us. It's really, I'm like, you guys can see it now. Well, it might take Sega a few years to like, oh, of course they don't want to put their. I'm like, all right, bro.
Sega gave us Sonic.
Like actually saying it in a different way.
Okay,
Sega
so
gave us Sonic
it's more about the Sonic
and Sonic 2. Like, leave Sega alone. Let them like get out here.
Oh my goodness!
No,
to that point,
I'm just playing.
To that point, all of 3 days later, or like it might have been like 4 or 5, like after like that big like Sega announcement of like their first blockchain game, they were like, Sega repeals their thoughts on blockchain game. I'm like, what's this like? What's this clickbait? That they did not repeal anything. They were like, yo, like, nah, we probably not going to be bringing blockchain stuff to like our biggest titles like Sonic and stuff like that anytime soon. I'm like, yeah, no duh. Like, okay, that's way different than the title of this, but you know what? Get your clicks in. And to my point of like, a lot of these influencers like, what's going to sell? Me being ultra negative about that article that I just want ultra hype about. Let's get it. Clicks. It's the world. It's the world, y'all. I felt like it was kind of one of the points that you made there, Satoshi. I think it was Satoshi. Maybe it was Infinite. Was a good point. And let me actually pull up one more window here. DeFi Llama. Oops. We're going to go to DeFi Llama. It's DeFi Llama time. You were mentioning trusted apps, basically. Trusted protocols or apps, or, you're like, oh, they're probably going to go with like some game that like, this works, or some model that like, this works. So I wanted to tie that in to different blockchains. Today, specifically, we're going to be looking at Pulse chain. Oh man, that's nice and Degen of you, Smurf. Yes, it is. All right. So for those that did not know, Pulse chain is a blockchain that was created by the Richard Hart. I don't know if you can say this created by Richard Hart, because he's probably gonna be like, it wasn't created by me. It was created by some devs. I'm like, whatever, bro. It's in the Richard Hart Hex family of blockchains. We all know where it came from. And so, but when we go down this list of blockchains, so this thing is like 3 months old or something, 3 months old, right? But we'll go down this list of blockchains. Pulse is the number 9 blockchain within like 3 months. So it's actually something worth paying attention to. There's $325 million on Pulse. And its next things will be catching up with Mixin, which is how is that ever on this list? And then it's catching up with Avalanche and Optimism at that point. So if it goes up another 2, like if it doubles, it becomes in the game of like, yo, I'm like a really big boy crypto project. And when you look at the chart for it, it's been going up and to the right. So there's that to pay attention to. So I'm like, all right, this is one that you don't want to not pay attention to, similar to ZK Sync era. So we talked about ZK Sync era before, more so extensively. We're gonna look at Pulse just briefly here. So again, starting to make this curl up to the right. And again, we did have this peak up here. This is like more so around the launch time, and there was it was launch of a new blockchain. There's money to be made, and then people want to cash out. They want to make sure they lock in those gains too. And so you see some turbulence. But back to that point of apps with staying power. And this is like a lesson for like any blockchain in general, because different chains are coming out. There's Polygon, ZK AVM, there's ZK Sync. We're gonna give you guys a little insight into how big players are thinking about these chains. What's a good way of going about finding projects on these chains? Because I'm going to go through and I'm going to make small YouTube videos about probably each one of these dexes. And there's going to be people asking me questions or whatever on our YouTubes and the TikTok videos like, oh, how'd you find this list? It's right here, DeFi Llama. There's other places I go to, but this is like one of the places you can go, and they'll sort it by TVL. And so when I'm talking about that and when I'm talking about the yields, like you can find it in these places, but I'm not going to mention that in every single video. But this is your like, yo, wow, he actually just says it if you like are watching the live stuff. So PulseX, of course, the native DEX on that chain. We're just going to cover like that whole staying power thing again, like, right? And so like why the big money is going to move to certain things. Number one thing that you need when you start a DEX, you need or a blockchain, you need a DEX. You need somewhere for people to trade that cryptocurrency asset. And so this is the native one on that platform. Think of this as the pancake swap or the Curve Dex or whatever big, the Uniswap. This is it for Pulse Chain. And so it's got first movers advantage. People have to use some type of DEX. The money has to flow through something. And so that it's going to be printing out money for at least some amount of just because it has to. It has to go somewhere. And you get to be the bank. You get to be the exchange. And so money has to flow through PulseX. So number one on the list is the one with the most TVL and the first runner DEX. The second DEX over here was when I first found this, it was like down here, something like that. And I was like, dang, this one's going to run. So again, this is like basically forked off of PancakeSwap. It's just they're not doing anything new, right? This one right here, and some of these ones, it's finding out what they're forked off of or what they're forked from. So when I say forked, it's like a copy of a different project. And certain projects we already know succeeded, better than others in cryptocurrency, or they have a certain, this might happen that tanks the project. That they have a history behind them, but we know PancakeSwap is still around. We know Uniswap's still around, like no problems, right? This one right here, the number 2, which was all the way down here before, this is a fork of Balancer, which is the top cryptocurrency DEX as well. The thing about Balancer is Balancer has a different way of splitting up liquidity. It can let you split liquidity into like a 40-60 pair or a 10-90 pair or 80-20 pair instead of just being 50-50. So that's an innovation of Balancer. And so it's the first mover of any type of DEX on this blockchain that allows you to do that. And so though I saw that, I invested in the token. It was like 1 cent or something like that, or a little one. It's now on, it's making its way toward 2 cents. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to go up because people want a DEX where you can do this type of liquidity management and nothing else exists. And on top of that, they weren't making the code themselves from scratch. They're just forking something else. They're copying something else that already existed. And so I know it already has tons of audits that have been run on it that have not been hacked over years. And so I'm going to go with that one instead of some other project that's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe that project works out. Maybe it don't. Like, nah, not for a first, an early blockchain. Show me those products that have been proven to work. And so those are all the ones that are seeing the most success. Again, that type, this other DEX. This is forked from Goose Finance, if you're familiar with the PancakeSwap or Binance Smart Chain and the DeFi ecosystem early on. So this is a fork of Goose Finance, which is their innovation was the same normal type of farm. It's a farm. It's like a sushi swap clone or PancakeSwap clone. However, they put fees on top of the farm. So there's a 4% fee on your deposits. And so that goes into the ecosystem and they have their own DEX. So there's that. But obviously, why do you see this difference in TVL here? Because Goose is not as innovative as a Balancer, and there's a fee. There's no fee on this one at all. And the token's less. So, and then you got Pulse Rate, Algo stable coins. We all know how Algo stable coins work out at this point. Like it's like they don't typically work out. This one's a fork of Phantom, and so it's got all this money in it, and maybe it does well, but chances are you want to play it safer in these type of projects. We've learned our lesson at this point. Velocimeter, what is this? We've seen this on ZK Sync. What is it? It's a 3-3 DEX. So this is a Solidity clone. So what happens with Solidity clone? They typically tend to do well. People start to buy them up. They have their heyday in the sun. It's worth paying attention to. But this is how I would go through every single one. I would like come through them, check their docs if you can check their docs, or if it exists on DeFi Llama. Sometimes things aren't on DeFi Llama yet, but you can go to DeFi Llama, you can click on that thing, you can look in here, and it'll tell you what the competitors are, or it'll tell you what it's forked from Balancer V2. But it'll give you like an idea of, okay, this is what that is. Without you having to go to the GitHub and whatever the heck else. There's things that you can use for that. So yeah, that's my little educational rant on like how to maneuver some of these new blockchains and find these protocols that are more likely to do well. Because I've been shouting out to the boys. I'm like, yo, fucks. It's funny to say that, but especially what's even funnier than the name fucks for a protocol. It's when you read this list down correctly. You go PulseX fucks Daytona Finance. So I was like, all right, that's special. I wonder if they did it on purpose. And they might have, because when you go to the platform, the names are like weird on the pools. It's like some stuff that only exists in DeFi. Like one pool is like Jeet or something like that. Another pool is like, this Maxi, and it's all sorts of crazy names. But there's your educational shout today. Did you guys learn anything, or did you know about any of those protocols that I listed or named while explaining that?
I did not know that Pulse had, all that stuff getting built on it. One question I have about Pulse is, how do you get your stuff off of there?
The bridge. So they got a bridge.
Bridged out.
Yep. Just normal bridge situation. Pulse bridge.
Have you tried it yet?
I have not, but I've watched. I mean, tons of people. I got in no problem, and tons of transactions. It seemed to be the exact same way to get out. Tons of people have been getting out, no problem. It seems to be like no issues. There was like in the very beginning, it was clogged in terms of getting in. But yeah, nobody's reported having any issues. And right now, my focus has just been on like building up my position. I'm like, it's like I have like because I did the sacrifice or whatever. So I have like $300, $400 maybe dollars or something like that over there. It's not like a big pocket of money, and it's like I spent like 2 times less. I spent like $100 to get it. So I'm like, all right, I got more money than I spent. I'm just gonna try to increase it. I will eventually try to move it out, but if I see that other people are getting out, no problem. There's no need for me to like be like, yeah, I moved it off. Now I got to pay that much more to get it back in, and just because I wanted to test it for a small amount of money. It's not the smallest amount of money, but I don't need that for that. $400 is for investing. So like, and that's what I mean by that, folks. But like, so I'm not going to do that right now. Long way of answering Satoshi's question. But yeah, it seems to be fine. People are transferring thousands of dollars out. And you can tell from this chart too, this is money flowing in and out of the blockchain. So at one point the money could only go in and then the money could flow out. And so we finally saw some downside. But when it could only go in, it was only going up. And then started to find equilibrium. Money's going in and out. And now it's starting to turn back up, regardless of money going in and out. Because it's kind of like the Ethereum situation where they have with the Chappella upgrade, or Chappella is like the mixed name of the upgrade. But the upgrade where you could take your ETH out of staking. Now all of a sudden you can get the rewards from the staking. You can take it out. It gives people a different feeling about that ecosystem. And so since the bridge was activated, people had a different, so it's playing out. But yeah, that's to look into there. I heard Chirp is also a clone of Goose, but to be decided. Again, I'm going to be making content on a bunch of this stuff. You can see a lot of these are just like trash down here. But yeah, things to pay attention to. There's tons of blockchains on this on DeFi Llama to go and search into if that's your thing. But yeah, I think that wraps it for us today on the show, gentlemen. We got to go back around before we end this thing, and I have to ask that question, which is going to be starting with Satoshi. After our discussion today, how you feel about the market?
Still in disbelief, man. I'm still shocked that these people are here. They're finally here at the party. Well, I think that they've been here secretly for a while, but now they're okay with admitting it.
Yeah, now they out here being vocal and saying it's like it's this and that. They're out here saying our words.
Yeah,
it's like, yo, that's creepy. It's like, oh, it's weird. Oh, it's no longer trendy. Stop. Everybody change your style.
Everyone buy Solana now.
Right? Oh my goodness! Literally, I don't know because we're just getting confused.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm about to buy some Solana. I'm just
about to buy.
I literally might have to.
I'm just gonna buy
I might have to. Like literally, literally, I'm talking to other folks today, and like everybody's of the same mindset. We're like, nah, Solana, nah. Like we're just too like into crypto and DeFi to be like, yay, Solana. Like, nah, not really though. And I'm like, this other dude like mentioned like this like Solana situation. He's like, yeah, this happened with Solana. He's like, that's crazy. We're like, yeah, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, man, Solana just seems to have this thing. It's just like it's not going away. And everybody was just like, everybody put their head down, like, you just see like a consensus of like, I don't know.
Bro, tell me I'm wrong. The most hated shit pumps the most.
Dude,
that shit is
that's why I'm like, I don't want to just miss it because I hate it. Because I'm like, oh, I don't like it. So like, I'm just gonna miss out on the gains. It doesn't have that bored ape level of potential like hate, regardless to how you feel in that game. It doesn't have that attached to it.
Solana doesn't.
It's not like you can like racism, Nazi symbolism type of.
No. But people fucking
no.
Oh, okay, but
no. It's
I'm
not like
I'm not talking about that type of hate.
My thing is like, I'm not like, I could buy the Milady, but just this summer they were like, it's like, oh yeah, the majority of Milady holders are like Nazis and blah.
Yeah,
it's like,
I was talking about like the tribal type stuff that happens in crypto. It's just like the tribalism, where it's just like me, like how I hate Cardano, but it always like
and Tron,
it's
which
gonna
is such a strong token.
it's gonna pump really hard. I don't hate Tron.
Look at this.
You
Look
know,
at this. Look at Tron.
I
10%.
just don't see no
10%.
I don't see no NFTs over there, and I don't see nothing for people to do except for
19% on the year.
DeFi stuff.
Stable coin out here. Real talk.
Beats
inflation.
It's gonna be a stable coin the whole bull run. So I fuck with that.
Man, I don't see it going up a whole bunch, Tron. But I'm like,
They
you know
got
what? That's probably good for them. They out here because I'm not sure when the last time you opened Tron, like the wallets or whatever. But it is like a legal tender or a legal currency in like multiple countries.
Why?
They got the little flags and stuff like that. So I'm like maybe they honestly don't want to be like crazy volatile. They're like, you know what? What about if we keep adding money in and we keep it like it's going up and to the right? We don't really dip too much. That's actually solid. That's solid.
I don't trust it, man. They got that. What is it? TUSD, man.
They got USDD too.
I don't trust it. I'm gonna take Solana over Tron. I'm sorry.
Ooh, wow.
Solana.
I mean, look.
Over Tron.
If it was going for like if I'm going just for straight up like who's gonna make the most gains, it's probably Solana.
Yeah,
it's probably Solana.
It's Solana. I'm sorry.
It's Solana. If I'm going out of the DeFi of the ecosystem though, like I don't know, Solana, like maybe it gets developed there, but it's not there right now. So like I might as well like keep like my Tron bag.
I think it's like Solana. I do not think of DeFi at all.
No. Nope.
When I think of Solana, I think of it used to be $300. And
oh my goodness, CRV is up 22%.
And NFTs over there. And easy as fuck to use for people. Like Solana is basically Tron. I'm sorry. Solana, Tron, probably not that different. Like
Tron ain't been down like
underneath.
That.
I'll give it that. But also, has Tron had that many users on it?
I feel like
Tron had a lot of users, but I don't know if it's had that many users like Solana had, bro. Solana.
I'm like, you actually make Tron was pumping.
So, but Tron didn't have the NFTs. All Tron is doing is like casinos and like.
But that's all Solana had was the NFTs.
Okay, all
right. I mean, like, look. I will say like
I'll give you that. I didn't know.
But I mean, I'm like Solana probably has had more people go through it. Like maybe, like I don't know. Because like Tron has been around that much longer. That's an interesting question. It's been around that much longer. There's a lot of money that moves through it, but like just the sheer audience that Solana brings forth, I'm like, that is. Let's see.
Let's okay. Here we go. Let's see. I'm gonna buy $100 of Solana. You buy $100 of Tron. And
I already told you no. I already told you no. Nah.
Okay. How about this? I'll buy you some Tron. You buy me some Solana, and we'll see how it goes.
That like reminds me of like a conversation I had with my dad like last. I'm like, this man was like, man, you like and Elon Musk can't say anything wrong. I'm like, bro, like me being like Tesla stock is probably going to outperform General Motors, Ford, etc. It's just being smart. I'm like, I'm not hanging on to the radio. Like you didn't ask me my opinions on the man. like no, like I'm not stupid. But
I ain't stupid.
Do I like? Yeah, like, but like, am I gonna bet against Apple stock either? Like, I brought that up as an example. Like, no, there's like certain like with the Solana thing. I'm like, I'm gonna go to it where the money is. Like, it's just like a question. Like, if you don't ask me how I can make the money, like, there's certain things that I know how, like in certain things I just won't invest in because like I don't believe in it or whatever. Yeah. Like the Bored Ape situation, or like I'm like I don't really side with what Tesla doing. I'm making my money in my own place. I'm not gonna buy a bunch of your stock. Like no, I don't have to. Like, but if you're gonna ask me which one's gonna outperform the other, like where's the money at? And I was like, bro, I almost sent him this like spiteful ass text, like, yeah, General Ford up like 30%, Tesla up 135%, fool. Like. That's a big difference in a few months, bro.
Yeah,
it's a big difference.
That's some crypto gains right there.
Solana's gonna do that with Tron for sure. It's gonna be like stepping on them, like, yeah, I'm at $60. How's 12 cents feel, Tron? Like, okay, well,
yeah. Anyway, it doesn't make me feel good to shill Solana, but if people want to make money, it's probably a layup. Not financial advice, but.
It's ugly.
It's a layup.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut this whole portion out. I'm actually going to do some editing this time.
Yeah, definitely. Please cut this
thanks for
out
that.
so no one sees it ever again.
Yeah, can't have that.
Yeah.
Infinite, how are your feelings on the market?
All right, you missed it a little bit earlier, Satoshi Shinsei. So I'll tell you now.
Okay.
I'm actually.
Hey, those feelings could have changed over the course of our talk today. That's the point of the talk.
They didn't. I'm actually a little bit more embarrassed.
We did not convince him. At all.
I'm actually a little
I
bit
showed
more
him the
embarrassed.
DXY and everything.
Yeah.
Look at the DXY.
Oh my god! I cannot wait to ask the Infinite about something after stream. I have to write it down.
Okay, but here's the reason why, because I actually do want to tell you is we have some things in the private chat. I included the videos I watched. U.S. Bank is being fined heavily for some kind of defrauding that they were doing. They created bank accounts for people and
Bank of America
double fining them,
bro.
U.S.
And
Bank.
the fees.
Did I say Bank of America?
No. He was the Infinite's correct. There's two different banks being fined right now.
Okay.
Damn.
So.
Okay.
So
no, and the best part was that when I was looking it up, I was like, "Wait, you sure it's U.S. Bank? Because this article is from last year." No, they're getting fined back to back.
Yeah, it's
2 years, and I was just making a point about them having budgets for this shit.
I thought it was Bank of America.
Yeah.
Go on.
So
both of them.
Yeah.
Both.
He's saying both.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, I got you. Yeah. And I got this. I don't know, man. I think we're not done with the pain, and so in the short term, I will agree with you guys. We're looking at it. It's like, Lance, it's up. You're right. It's up. A lot of the information is looking correct. I'm starting to hear vibes of an actual soft landing, but I'm also hearing some of the other stuff to where it's like, yeah, some of this is some false flags. People aren't reading the data correctly, and they still plan to raise rates, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
Man, inflation is over. They ain't raising no rates no more. They ain't raising nothing, bro.
They are though.
He's lying, bro. He's lying.
Yeah,
he's lying.
No, they're gonna raise them. They're gonna raise that.
It's time. They're about to be like, yo, there's no more rate cuts. There's no more. I mean, there's no more rate hikes. I'm telling you, watch.
Yeah, part of the goal of that is to cool the markets. And you guys are already describing a market that ain't cool though. It's like, close it back to town. So it's like, there might be some room to move.
We never back like we never left.
My thing is Bank of America, U.S. Bank, fucking what other banks were there? Silicon Valley Bank. Those banks all can crash, I feel like, and the tech stocks will still be here. And the S&P is mostly tech stocks. I feel like those tech stocks aren't just gonna evaporate. There can be more banks.
Yeah, but if the banks fail, it's bruh. I don't know about that entirely.
They got fined though. The banks got fined.
They're gonna save the banks.
The banks are gonna get absorbed. JP Morgan's there. You gotta keep the Ponzi going, bro. They gonna keep that Ponzi going. Let me tell you, they ain't stopping it.
That's the one thing that I do agree with that, because I'm like I don't see them it's a too big, something in the world has to be too big to fail, right? And we built banks out before. At some point you go, do we really just want to let all this collapse? Because we let this go, it's gonna be chaos out. And they're like, well, we could kick the can a little bit more. Tired of playing kick the can. Let's just play some kick the can. And they kick the can, and it goes down the road, and they just keep kicking the can. And I don't see. We're gonna print out a little bit more money. We'll worry about. We'll have to do some tightening. People will be upset. Inflation's gonna go sky high. But we kick the can. It's what happens.
I don't get how. Actually, I understand it, but I don't get how inflation is going down, but all the fucking prices at the grocery store are going up.
That's what I said. There's
real estate going up.
You proved it.
It's because they be cooking the books, bro, and that's what they're gonna keep doing if they want to keep this party going. They're gonna keep cooking the books, because if they decide to be like, oh yeah, inflation is really really bad, everyone's gonna be like, fuck, it's bad. But now everyone's like, oh yeah, inflation's great. Everything's great. Just like a couple months ago when we were like, inflation's fucked up, and everyone was like, nah, bro, we don't. And the government said inflation's fine, it's transitory, and now all of a sudden the government's like, that inflation though, And everyone's like, oh shit, inflation. And now the government's about to be like, that shit. You remember inflation? We don't. It's time. Cut the rates.
That ain't
Plus,
happening.
They're gonna have to cut something because no one's gonna buy the fucking commercial real estate at these fucking these interest rates.
That's the plan. That's what they're trying to do.
That's the problem. To me, that's the problem. Is like who's gonna buy this real estate? I'm sorry, we don't.
Rich people.
It's just like, you know, like, I mean, yeah, rich people are gonna buy it, but are they gonna buy it at this interest rate? Like, to me, it's like a trade. It's like, you know, if you're rich, you don't have to take this interest rate trade right now. You can wait. I feel like I would wait it out.
Everybody's so bullish that I'm just like,
I don't know no one that's bullish on like commercial real estate or like you know, everyone's.
I mean, I'm hearing the Kiyosaki camp. The Kiyosaki camp is like, yo, we waiting, and like outside of the Kiyosaki, was it what's his name, Kevin camp, like the here Kevin or
Meet Kevin.
Oh
my god,
yeah, Meet Kevin. I mean, I'm just saying, look, you got to listen to different folks.
I feel you.
And the Kevin camp is also like, yo, we wait. The I'm gonna show y'all like how DJ and I be getting to my listening. The economic ninja camp out here, like, yo, we wait. So I'm like, I don't know. There's a bunch of camps out there that are like, and those are all like, those are three different audiences. Like, in all three of those audiences, like I feel like I'm more liberal leaning probably. Those are all like conservative leaning audiences that are like, yo, we wait.
Now, regular real estate, like homing and stuff, that's going up. That's going up. So
people buying. Like, that's what I was referring to. So you're referring to commercial real estate.
Commercial, yeah. That's just
okay. Well, yeah. That's in fun.
Terrible. Yeah. So I don't know how they're gonna fix that, honestly, because it seems like it seems fucked to me.
They need to find something to do with it. That's what'll fix it. Is as soon as they find something to do with the space, then it'll be fine.
AI?
Right now, them pushing this whole we need to bring people back to work. I'm like, yo, that's out of the bag, yo. I don't. You're gonna have to fight real hard for that to go back to normal.
Oh, they're trying to.
They are. There was some laws that they tried to make all the federal employees come back and only work one day from home.
And they were like, a second Panini back, boy. They're gonna be like Panini.
It got busted though. It didn't work. Because it's like, you know, even the place I work, which I'll leave anonymous, they were like, dude, that would cost us millions. Like literally, that would cost us millions, and then we'd have to buy new furniture and we have to buy all this different stuff. And it's like, you know, you're talking about
adding. You don't want them startup costs again?
Yeah, it's like it's just extreme because it's not like the commercial real estate's cheap. That shit's not fucking cheap. So it's like, you know, they have to look in the face and be like, this will kill our budget.
People are downsizing and stuff like that. And like, again, like when I listen to like some of these conservative audiences and stuff on real estate, specifically to the real estate market, it sounds like they're saying, you know, if nothing else, like, you know, people aren't going to be looking to, if you have a house right now, I'm talking about like just not even commercial real estate, but if you have a house right now, you're not necessarily looking to like, I'm looking for a bigger house. Like they're like, this is not if you got house money and you're in a house, this is not the market where you're looking to just, I'm gonna buy a bigger house right now because I feel like the market is prime for me to buy a bigger house. They're like, no, that's not what this market is. This market is maybe we downsize to a medium house. We don't have to go all the way down, but maybe we downsize a little bit and save some money. But more than likely, you don't do any of that because you're like, I'm gonna keep my interest rates. I'm gonna keep what I have locked in. I'm not going anywhere. And like, this is part of the reason why we're going to see like these rent rates, like kind of like stagnatized. Like, well, they'll still be increasing. Same way that inflation is going up, like, you know, year over year. A lot of people forget that this stuff compounds. But it's not going to be doing like these big jumps like we were seeing before, because like people can't keep house jump. You can't just keep buying. Yeah, I'm just going to go to the bigger house. Like, it's like, no, that portion of the market is like cooling off for real estate. And so, yeah, it's going to, you know, it's a matter of time. But if people are all just sitting on their houses, you know, it plays out one of two ways. Like, yeah, the house either, you know, it's gonna go up in value, or eventually somebody's gonna sell some stuff at like a much lower amount to get out of whatever the heck they have to go off of. And doing a little bit of looking into like, you know, the Zellos and whatnot, I have seen some like interesting sales happen like in my area and stuff, where like there's some houses that like not the nicest properties or whatever, but they have going for like you see them listed at like the normal going market rate, where it's like that's crazy. You listed your house for like 120% over the last 3 years, like what? And then like it relisted like for whatever the heck, and then eventually it sells for like $40,000 less than they were asking for, 50,000 less than they were asking. And I'm like, that was the only thing you was gonna sell it at, and like you really must have had to sell because everybody else is just holding on to their stuff. But I don't know. That's what it seems like it's playing out in the market. When I from the people that I'm listening to, and like when I'm looking at things, I'm like, okay, we'll see. But yeah, it definitely is a case of like books being cooked. And again, I'll make my point on since I have the mic for a moment, make my point on market and inflation stuff real quick. Just that books being cooked for sure. And then we have compounding inflation. Inflation isn't just inflation, it's compounding. So what happens with compounding inflation? Your purchasing power disappears over time. So if you can imagine back over here, where let's say $10 bought you a new TV, a new flat screen TV for $10 back here, and then you're all the way over here, and that same flat screen TV costs $1,000 because it's compounding inflation. Now it's $20. Now it's $40, $60, $80. And like, it's maybe hard to like, you're like, okay, sure, you're putting that on a big chart, whatever the heck is 1920. But we can go back to like, people like to say, this is funny because people like to say, oh, all this inflation stuff came around after the 2008 and the Obama and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, let's take it to the 1990s. Look, it's the exact same dang chart. Where's 2008 in this? You really don't notice. You really don't notice because it's compounding inflation and it's going to hit a certain mark. We're not having years where like it's 100% inflation this year and this, but it's pretty dang consistent if it's staying between 2 and 10 or 12%. So you get a chart that looks like this. It doesn't matter if it's 2008 or not. And I feel like, people get in these like, political camps and want to like whatever the heck butcher each other for like no reason. And it's like, dude, there's just like understanding the market and there's not understanding the market. And so, yeah, going down. And I wanted to show really quickly the DXY before too. Man, why did it just disappear? Load in. There we go. Over the 3-year. I'm going to go with the 3-year so that we get a thing. During the bull run, I was pretty notorious to like jump on these live streams and I would consistently point out the DXY in the direction it was going. A lot of the bull run is down in like the 90 range. So like 90 cents to the dollar, basically, you want to consider that like an international market or touch down in the 80 range, stuff like that. So I'm pointing all that stuff out. And once it started to shift, lo and behold, the market started to go down. We saw Bitcoin reach its high of around like, which is over here. Bitcoin reaching its high around $70,000. And then it started to change. This is literally when that happened, y'all. Literally when that happened. Go back and see what Bitcoin touched that night. And so it's starting to change. And like what happened the entire way that it changed? Bitcoin's going down this entire time. And then we see a change up happen. And then the market starts to turn around. And like how long is it going to be in this direction? But this is like, I don't know, similar to like the last episode where we were talking with Satoshi, where we were talking about Heikin-Ashi candles. I'm like, this is like one of these type of charts that like it doesn't change all the time in terms of its major direction. But when the direction does change in a certain way, it's going to be that way for like this is 3 years. That's 3 years. We are in year 1 of the opposite direction. We're in the middle of the transition of the opposite direction. It's another year or two. And guess what happens within that next year or two? The Bitcoin halving happens. What happens when the Bitcoin halving happens? It's like, and where should that be in this chart? It should be right around the time that this really starts to pick up.
Halving.
If you're just thinking about it time-wise.
All the catalysts.
Yeah, election year. Man. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, my feelings of things. Bullish because it's hard not to be like what those type of things. And that's not just bullish for crypto. Again, I focus on crypto, but we could easily pull up the S&P 500 over like a similar period of time, and it's not going to be down. It's going to be up like over that exact same period of time. That's just how it works out. Yeah, we got to show it just to like.
You thought we was going off? Nah, we got to hit you with that.
Going off. Boom. Look at that. It's like a similar date to Bitcoin's all-time high for the stock market. And then we see it switch around. Now, they have a little bit different type of turbulence, but it's the exact same type of situation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's cycles and fucking math and patterns. Cycles,
y'all. I don't know. The more you bait interesting, but yeah. These reasons why I am bullish. Summary of Smurf. And with that, I want to turn the mic to our host for one last opportunity. Is there anything that you guys have to say before we close out today?
Deuce.
I think we can let him loose, man. We can let him loose.
Let him loose. All right, watch this. No.